Hello, and welcome to Lacey's YouTube channel.
Look, Lacey, if you want to continue to get screen time, you need to learn how to use your mouth. And by learn how to use your mouth, I mean learn how to shut your mouth. Okay? Just sit there quietly. Alright, so in my last video I was talking about the next compromise for the 300 PRC, and there were some very excellent questions. And I thought I'd take a moment and just go over some of those questions and answer those for you, because there was too many just to sit in the comment section and type them all out. To the whiteboard of knowledge. So the first question is, since you're at the point now where you no longer have a barrel in action coming in 300 PRC, why don't you switch to 300 Win Mag? And actually that is a very excellent question, because 300 Win Mag is the better choice for the type of rifle I am building. Why is that? Because 300 Win Mag is widely available. Even right now, in the middle of the ammo shortage, I can literally walk into a store and buy a box of 300 Win Mag. This is not going to be a competition rifle. This is a rifle that would be used, now I would never do this, but hypothetically speaking, to promote a vice president or hit bipedal creatures that are hairless at distance. So, why am I sticking with 300 PRC over 300 Win Mag? Now, typically the 300 Win Mag has a disadvantage over the 300 PRC because the 300 Win Mag typically comes in the 110 variety, which will bump you up to like around the 200 grain 30 cal. And the 30 cal doesn't really actually come alive and actually start showing its performance until you're at 220 grain plus. Otherwise, your 6.5s and 6mm, they'll outperform the 30 cal until you're above like 220 or higher. Once you get up to like the 200s and so, you're doing pretty good. But the 300 PRC, because of the barrel twists they come in and the free bore they give you, you typically get a 1.9 or a 1.8. Now with a custom build rifle, that's irrelevant, because you can order 300 Win Mag, whatever the hell barrel twist you want. But factory 300 Win Mags, because of the ammunition that's typically available for 300 Win Mag, will come in a 110 or somewhere around there, like 110.5 or like 111. It typically targets around the 200 grain projectiles. And you can push it out to a 220. But to really utilize the 30 cal, you should be at like 120 or higher. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense to go with a 30 cal. Again, you'd go with like a 6.5 or a 6mm. Next reason, I believe it would be an insult to my subscribers, because a lot of this project is actually happening, is very possible because of you guys. Like this absurd amount of 300 PRC ammunition I got, the brass I got, the bullets, everything you guys helped me with. And if I were to just throw it away and go to a different project, it's kind of insulting to your time, your work, and your effort. So I'm going to stick with 300 PRC a lot because you guys helped me with it. Now in the competition world, again, 300 PRC typically takes an edge over 300 Win Mag, but that's only because of the rifling options that 300 PRC is widely available in. Your 1.9s and your 1.8s, where your 300 Win Mag is in a 110. However, for this project that doesn't matter, because I'm buying a custom barrel. I could get 300 Win Mag in a 1.8 if I want, and shoot the heaviest 30 caliber projectiles I can feed it. So that was the first question. So why am I sticking with 300 PRC over 300 Win Mag? Literally because you guys helped me. And the amount of time and work we put into tracking down ammunition and purchasing it. I mean, this is almost $1,000 in ammo right here. And again, your time, your effort, that was very well appreciated. And I just don't feel like I want to throw that under the bus just to switch to something I originally wanted. Ultimately, I may build another rifle in 300 Win Mag, but for now, we're sticking with 300 PRC. I swear, every time I shoot a video, someone decides to call me. Alright, so, and you think I won't get a call right now, it's like 6 in the freaking morning. 5:30 in the morning. Alright, where are we here? Why don't you change the name to the Compromise? And I would. That would be an excellent name for this rifle. However, I already named it. Painted right on there, the Prophet. Otherwise, yeah, this rifle would be called the Compromise. And in the future, I'd probably just buy the Accuracy International rifle I actually want and call that one the Prophet. But it's too late. This one's already named the Prophet. What I may wind up doing is taking the action and barrel that will go on here, which will be 300 PRC. And then when I can finally get the action I actually want and the barrel I actually want, take it off of this rifle, build a second rifle, and then make this one clone correct. Because this is supposed to be a clone of the Accuracy International Arctic Warfare. Why 300 PRC? Why are you not going like 6.5, 308, 243, 260, etc., etc.? Why go with a Magnum caliber? Because I would not run those calibers in a bolt-action rifle. The only thing I would put in a bolt-action rifle is a Magnum caliber. Because those calibers can be accelerated with a 308 size case, well, that puts them in semi-auto category. And semi-auto has a great advantage until you get to like a 1 second tight fly. Sorry, can't talk. A 1 second time of flight. And you're not going to get a 1 second time of flight until you get out to ranges like 600 yards, somewhere in there. That's when your Magnum calibers will start taking the advantage. Because they go in a bolt gun, they carry more kinetic energy. With a semi-auto, your follow-up shot starts losing its advantage at like, there's a lot of overlap here and it will vary from caliber to caliber. But around 600 yards, that's when you'd start switching over to a bolt gun. Because it's pointless to put like 3 or 4 projectiles in the air until the first one hits and you know what's happening. Once the first one hits, well, okay, so I hit there. That either got the desired effect on the target or I need to adjust. Then you adjust. So what is the point of a semi-auto when you have a 1 second time of flight? Because you can't do fast follow-up shots. You got to wait for the bullet to take its sweet-ass time, impact, decide if that's where you wanted it or not, and then compensate. So with those calibers, anything that can fit inside a 308 case, I would run in a semi-auto. Now you're probably like, well, it's a 308 case, so why those calibers? Why are you not running a 308 in a semi-auto? And I have the SCAR, but that is a totally different intent behind it. A 30 caliber just doesn't get its legs inside of a 308 case. Almost definitely it can go out to those ranges, but I'm looking for advantages. And if I'm going to build a bolt gun, why the hell not would I go with a Magnum caliber? Now a 6mm or 6.5 millimeter inside of a 308 case, those perform quite well. Like your 6.5 Creedmoor, Remington 260, 243, 6mm Creedmoor. This case has enough capacity to accelerate those to a respectable velocity to get the desired BC on a long enough bullet. A 308 case, you cannot get enough case capacity. Well, you could probably put like a 230 grain projectile on here, but one, I don't know if it's going to feed properly because of how long it's going to be. Two, you're going to be at some ridiculously low velocity, like, I'm making numbers up here because I didn't look, but it's probably going to be like 2,000 feet per second, 2,200 feet per second, maybe 2,500 feet per second, and those velocities just are not acceptable. That would be such a ridiculously long ballistic curve. Yeah, you got a high BC, so it's got the legs to go the range. However, the compensation would be insane. Like here, let me roll in a couple of pictures of drop on the Prophet, what it's going to look like. I'll do probably like 200 yards, 500 yards, 800 yards, and 1,000 yards. Even at 1,000 yards, it's less than 24 MOA of drop. Now do that same thing with like a 308 or like a 243. Yeah, you're going to be looking at a lot more drop. Second, this will have a lot more kinetic energy. I can't get that kind of kinetic energy out of like a 6.5, a 6mm, anything like that. The 30 caliber, truly to get its legs, needs to be in a Magnum cartridge. Now, a 308 does have a lot of advantages because this is such a mellow round, I should say. What's the words I'm looking for here? It's not very hot. Therefore, you're going to get a very, very long barrel life. My 300 PRC, I'm not going to get a long barrel life. It's probably going to be like 1,000 rounds, 1,500 rounds, and that barrel's going to have to come the hell off. Do that same thing in a 308, we're looking at like 10,000 rounds, especially on like a chrome line barrel. Take away the chrome lining, I bet you I'll still get like 5,000 rounds, so that it'll just keep chugging along. Chugga, 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 chugga. Chugga, chugga, chugga. Choo, choo. And that's just not going to happen with your Magnum 30 cals. So why don't you just buy a rifle and get your 1,000 yards you want to shoot? People do that all the time. Because people do that all the time. And I want the focus of this channel to be actually on the builds of the rifles. I'm more interested in mechanics. I like how things function. I like exploring functions. I like tweaking different mechanics. That's what I want to make the focus of this channel. I want to have it, in the end, when I'm big enough and I have enough finances coming in, that's all we're going to do all the time. Is just building different types of rifles, exploring different types of parts, seeing how they perform differently. Yes, I could most definitely go buy a Savage 110 for the cost of the action in the barrel on this rifle. And I could most definitely shoot 1,000 yards. But the focus of my channel isn't shooting 1,000 yards. It's the mechanics of the build. I want a concept. Okay, this is the job we're going to try to do. Now let's see how well we can build a tool to do that particular job. Why 300 PRC at 800 yards when a 308 or a 6.5 could most definitely do that job? Well, I want the kinetic energy, and I want the advantages, and I want to build this rifle as if it was actually going out to promote a vice president. If I get a bad shot on a 308 at 800 yards, the projectile's moving so slow, and there's so little kinetic energy, that biped will probably survive. A 300 PRC, that's bringing a lot of kinetic energy to the table. Far more than a 6.5, a 6mm, or a 30 cal inside of a 308 case is ever going to be able to muster. That is just a lot of kinetic energy. I'll pull up some charts, but I think at like, don't quote me on this, wait till I pull up the numbers, but I think at like 800 yards, it's either got equal to or slightly better kinetic energy than the 308 has at the muzzle. So that's pretty awesome. And if you're to get shot point blank with a 308, I don't care if it's in the tip of your finger or the sole of your foot. You are going to decide whatever you are doing, it's time to stop. I mean, if I just took a 308 right here in the middle finger, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm going to be like, oh, I made a mistake. You know, it's time to quit because of how much kinetic energy that brings. I mean, it's like putting my middle finger over the muzzle of the scar and then pulling the trigger. It's going to be bad. Now you start moving down the hand or the arm, I may not even survive. Especially a chest cavity, I don't know anywhere I could put the scar's barrel on me and pull the trigger where I would survive. There's a possibility. There's always that possibility, but it's not very likely just because of the internal damage and everything it'll bring to bear. So why are you going to shoot 1 mile or 1,000 yards? So basically, I'm going to probably shoot 100 to get this on paper. Then I'm going to zero it for 200, and I will never shoot at those close ranges ever again. Unless something is going wrong or there's some unusual variable I can't figure out and I got to reel it in. It will always shoot at like 1,000 yards or greater. It's even going to go to a class to go shoot 1 mile. Yes, I will bring it into like 800, 700, and 600 a couple of times just to make sure my dope card is accurate. But other than that, it's going to live at 1,000 yards or farther. Why? Why, when the intended use is 800 yards, am I going to shoot at 1,000 yards or farther constantly? Well, it's the same reason why when I got into archery, I always shot at like 80 or 100 yards. Because at first when I started shooting archery, you know, it was 20, 30 yards, realistic distances. And I could make those shots, but I'd always make stupid little mistakes. Then when I started practicing at 80 yards, 100 yards, sometimes 110, those 20 and 30 yard shots became stupid easy. They were very, very easy to make. Now that kind of rolls into another point I wanted to bring up. So if I'm always shooting at 1,000 yards or farther than this, if I actually legitimately have to use it for the concept of what this rifle is, it should be no problems making that shot. Now obviously because of the cost of the ammunition and that, this will be very expensive to shoot, and it's not going to get shot very often at that range. And I will ultimately do like a 6.5, obviously it'll be in a semi-auto platform, where I was even thinking about taking this, if I can't get the velocity ironed out, and making this into a DMR and running like 90 grain or something like that. Just because I could practice at those long distances a whole lot cheaper, And I'll get a whole lot better because there's more wind drift and stuff. But anyway, back to another point I wanted to reel in. I'm not trying to insult you guys that shoot 1,000 yards. This is going to be 15%, maybe even 20%. I'd have to compare the numbers. Easier to shoot at like 1,000 yards than say like a 6mm or a 6.5. Just because there's like, depending on the cartridge, between like 10 and 20% less wind drift and less drop. Therefore, I have to be 10 or 20% less precise with my calculations. So, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not trying to take away because you shot at 1,000 yards and now I'm doing it and I'm making it look easy. It's not like some sort of insult to you or show that I'm better than you. If you truly want to get like some sort of flag or notoriety, just go shoot competition. I will never win competitions. Yes, I will be able to make hits on targets this size consistently with a 300 PRC. Could I do that with a 6.5 or a 6mm? I don't know. I'm not in it for the challenge. My channel isn't about shooting 1,000 yards. But anyway, if you want notoriety or to hold something over me, just go shoot competition. Back then, I didn't have the money to shoot competition. Not at long range anyway. Now, I don't have the time. The time I would have to put into this rifle to become a competition winner, I just don't have. So if you go and win a competition, you will always have that over me. Yes, I will score hits on those targets. I will put down the data. I will show you how I did it, what I've learned, how I'm doing it. And when shooting a 300 PRC, we'll make it pretty easy. Now, again, I'm not trying to belittle you for shooting 1,000 yards. That is in itself an accomplishment. But I'm stacking the deck in my favor. So I'm going with a high magnification scope, a magnum caliber rifle. Now, it doesn't guarantee you can shoot that range, but a lot of the difficulties in long-range shooting can simply be purchased away. There is still a feel to it, just like shooting with a bead sight with a shotgun or something like that, because I've been talking to a lot of people that shoot those ranges, and you got to get the feel. You got to learn how to read mirage and wind, but with this caliber, they keep telling me that it's going to be pretty easy. It's not like you're trying to shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor at 1,000 yards, or a 6.5 Grendel at 1,000 yards, or a 243. And believe me, those cartridges are more than capable of doing 1,000 yards. This just shoots so flat and it's got so little wind drift. Again, look at what it's going to look like for 1,000 yards. I'm like, what, 2 MOA off or something? I'm not looking at the grid, but I can't remember. I think it goes as far as like 4 MOA is what I'll get for a 10-mile-an-hour wind drift at 1,000 yards. So if I got like a whipping wind or something like that, it just makes it easier. And again, this channel isn't focused around shooting 1,000 yards. I'm looking to make 800 yard and in shots with this particular rifle. I'm just going to be shooting 1,000 yards, so those 800 yard shots and in will become easier. Because it's always easier. Like I can take the Black 13 and make 300 yard shots without a problem from a bench. And I'll bring that range into like 200 or 100 yard because I practice out to 300 yards so much. Just standing offhand, I have no problems making 200 and 100 yard shots. A lot of people have problems with that, but because I practice at 3 times farther, it makes it when I come in 3 times closer, gives me a wider margin of error, and it makes that shot just a whole lot easier to take. So I'm going to be practicing at 1 mile, 1,000 yards, stuff like that, even though the intent of the rifle is only out to 800 yards. I would never take a shot like that farther than 800 yards. I just couldn't. There's too many variables. Even if you're really good, you still miss at 1,000 yards just because there's so many variables. Inside of 800 yards, it gets a little bit more predictable. It's a little bit easier to tell what's going on. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A video. If you like to help support the channel, got my Patreon right there. I also have affiliate links for a lot of stuff like this knife, scope, t-shirt. Even if you don't buy what that link is for, just clicking on that link and then doing the Amazon shopping you're going to do anyway, I had a little kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And right there is my very first mistake. It's not the action I wanted, but it's the action I can get.
Oh, that's real good.
My house that got broken into. It's not the action I wanted, but it's the action I can get.
What a guy.